Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of May 21st to the 27th. Hopefully you guys are enjoying Memorial Day weekend, though. Hopefully you guys are having a happy, safe Memorial Day, where it's hanging out with, with your friends or family or wherever it might be you're doing for the weekend. Hopefully you have a very good Happy Memorial Day and all. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, including PlayStation having their official showcase, and I want to break down what I liked or didn't like, mixed, not 100% sure about though. We do have a report from Embracer Group, which apparently it seems that their stock kind of took a big hit following a report about a deal that did not go through as much as Embracer Group would have liked it to do. We also have certain updates about the whole basically the ABK, the Activision Blizzard deal, as it seems that a court has thrown out supposedly this lawsuit by several gamers, and a report from Game Rant that seems to indicate that Microsoft could, if they wanted to, close the Activision Blizzard deal, and an update over basically Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, which switched developers, and apparently some of the news may not be 100% good, depending on how you want to look at it though. So if you're interested in where I got the source of these information though, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started though, I do like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details though. The first one is that a teaser trailer has come up for the upcoming DLC for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, called The Last Spark Hunter DLC though. I will say I am very appreciated that basically Ubisoft and Nintendo are still supporting this game and putting out content for it though. It's just a shame the game did not do as well as they would have hoped for, at least depending on who you're asking though. Ubisoft sees it, didn't though. Nintendo hasn't said anything at this time though. But either way, I'm glad that the game is still getting some support nevertheless though. We also learned that Devolver Digital is planning to bring Weird West Definitive Edition over to the Nintendo Switch, which I think is very good though. I remember playing Weird West through VI Game Pass on my Xbox Series S, and I thought that was a very good game indeed, so I'm glad that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch though. We also learned that Ys on Nordics, if I'm saying that name correctly, will be launching on September 28th in Japan for PS5, PS4, and the Nintendo Switch though. No word at this time on a Western release at this moment though, so it's possible we may have to wait a couple of months for that one. It's very similar to what we're seeing right now with Disgaea 7 to a certain degree, where I believe there's already a release date for October 7th for the West though, so we may have to wait a little bit for this. But in either way though, I'm glad that the Switch is getting more of the games from Falcom, or if I'm saying the name correctly though, to be exact though. The Ys series is a fun action RPG, so I'm hoping this one makes its way over to the West though. We also learned that the Final Fantasy directors have considered the idea of scrapping the numbers for their game titles. You know how they go, like Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 15, and the upcoming Final Fantasy 16 though. Whether they choose to go into this though, or not, whether they choose to actually do this, that remains to be seen though. It'll be very interesting to see if they do scrap the numbers, how they approach it going forward for now on though. We also learned that supposedly Nintendo at one point did suggest to Platinum the idea of creating a Bayonetta spin-off though. This led to basically what would be now known as Bayonetta Origins, which acts as a prequel to, I believe, the Bayonetta series though. This was basically mentioned during an interview with Platinum, with Hideki Kamiya and all those. So it's very interesting to see that Nintendo was suggested a Bayonetta spin-off though, and I'm very curious if we see more of a spin-off. I've heard that Hideki Kamiya has mentioned before doing one starring John, to be exact, a spin-off on that one, to even about Bayonetta 4. But either way though, it's nice that Nintendo was able to give at least a suggestion for a Bayonetta game that turned into be basically Bayonetta Origins though. We also learned that supposedly Sony has come out making a claim that PlayStation is well ahead of Nintendo and Xbox in terms of brand momentum, to be exact though. Now, this could be appealing to investors and everything like that, but I don't really 100% buy it that it's basically well ahead of brands like Nintendo and all, considering you take a look at, say, the Mario movie doing very well at the box office, though. The Switch is also doing very well despite being a couple years old and all, and of course The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has done very well for Nintendo and everything like that. So I'm not sure I 100% buy Sony's argument, though, especially for maybe Microsoft to some degree. Although I think with Microsoft, though, the situation is kind of a little bit different compared to where they were during the Xbox One era, to be exact, though. Again, this could probably be basically appealing to investors and everything like that, but I don't 100% buy Sony's claim, though. We also learned that Sony has come out and claimed that PSVR 2 early sales sort of beat the original than what many people had thought. This sort of contradicts several reports that have come out, at least from Sony's perspective, over the fact that the PlayStation VR 2 is not getting off to the best of starts right now. Now, whether that's true or not remains to be seen, though. Obviously, Sony is still supporting the PlayStation VR 2, and we saw how they showed off several PlayStation VR 2 games upcoming for during Sony's, the PlayStation Showcase, though. It remains to be seen how much support Sony will put into this, though, but for now, they're claiming it's doing very well, and they're definitely behind the PlayStation VR 2, though. And last but not least, we learned that a new entry in the Damien X Machina series called Titan Scorn, if I'm saying the name correctly, was announced during the Marvelous Direct, though. This was basically showing off different games from Marvelous Studios, though, including, another story a season, to updates on, the Rune Factory game, including Rune Factory 6, though. And this one was teased sort of at the very end, though. At this time, no word on what platforms or anything like that at the moment, nor have we have any gameplay that's being shown at this time, to be exact, though. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility it could make its way to either the Switch or the Nintendo's Nintendo's next platform, nor do I rule out the possibility it could be coming to, the PC or other platforms, though that depends on whether there is an exclusivity deal Nintendo signed with the developers or not, so who knows if that's the case. I did enjoy the first one, though. I thought it was a good game, to be exact, though. It definitely was sort of a throwback to a certain degree to sort of other mech games, like, say, the Armor Core series that a lot of people remember, though, and obviously we're having a new one coming up, though. I am hoping this one does make its way over to the Nintendo platform. I thought it was a fun game, so we'll see if that happens at all or anything like that. But for right now, we only have a teaser trailer at the moment that they've basically shown, though. And in the movie and the TV side of the My 2 Cent video, we've learned that the Mario movie is now the third biggest animated movie of all time. It's been reported that it beat the Incredibles 2 and all. So certainly nice to see that the Mario movie is doing very well at the box office, and even doing well, I'm pretty sure it will probably do well when the DVD or the Blu-ray comes out to it, though. And honestly, I would not rule out the possibility of a sequel. Given how well this movie has been doing so far, you could be damn sure Nintendo and Illumination will want to get a sequel going ASAP. Not saying they won't work on other ones like a Zelda or a Kirby or anything like that, or Donkey Kong, which has been rumored for quite some time, though, but you can be sure a sequel to the Mario movie is definitely going to happen, though. We also saw a trailer for the upcoming Wes Anderson film called Astro City, though. It's the latest one from him. To be exact, though, I did enjoy some of his movies. My favorite one is, of course, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Plus, his last one, though, The French Dispatcher, starring Bill Murray, which it's kind of interesting because this one doesn't seem to have Bill Murray in it, though. It has Jeff Goldblum, who appeared in several of others Wes Anderson's films, but it's kind of interesting that Bill Murray isn't in this one, or at least as far as I'm aware of, though. But either way, this is one I definitely will be keeping an eye out, though. Like I said, I do enjoy some of Wes Anderson's films, so I'd probably be taking a look at this one. We also learned that supposedly the live-action Little Mermaid movie seems to be doing very well at the box office for now, and there are estimates that it will probably do well over the Memorial Day holiday, though, to be exact, though. Apparently, there are some people who are mixed on the idea of doing this live action approach, though. It seems to be, from what I've been hearing, tracking better and doing sort of overtaking the live action Aladdin, but falling short from the live action Beauty and the Beast movie that they did. So we'll see how well this one does. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Then again, it is targeting a different demographic and everything like that. We also learned that supposedly 2 series are right now supposedly on hiatus for the time being. This is due to the writer's strike. On the Marvel side, it seems to be Thunderbolt is now on hiatus for right now, though. Meanwhile, Amazon Prime's Blade Runner series has now been delayed due to the writer's strike, though. It is a little bit unfortunate, indeed, though, because I was probably looking forward to Thunderbolt, though, and Blade Runner would have been kind of interesting to see how that one was done and everything like that, though. Obviously, hopefully the writer's strike can be resolved soon, though. I kind of understand why the writers are on strike and everything like that, especially with the whole, streaming service and everything like that, to be exact, though. So, very unfortunate that several shows are basically being delayed, though. And last but not least, unfortunately, apparently legendary singer Tina Turner unfortunately has passed away at the age of 83, though. Supposedly the reports coming out is that it's from natural cause at this time, though. Though I'm not really a Tina Turner fan, though. I've heard of her name before many times, though. Most people would remember, her doing songs like What's Love's Got to Do With It, to even her doing the theme song for the 1995 James Bond movie GoldenEye, starring Pierce Brosnan, though. That, I think, I do remember her singing the theme song for that movie, to be exact, though. And believe it or not, I believe that's the first time I ever saw a James Bond movie, though. But in either case, though, sadly, Tina Turner has passed away at the age of 83, though, and my heart goes out not only to her family and friends, but also fans who grew up, who enjoyed her music, though. So very unfortunate that a legendary singer has basically passed away and all. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started up with our first story, and this one has to do with the KOTOR Remake situation, or the Knights of the Old Republic remake. Now, during I think it was either a State of Play or one of Sony's showcase, though, one of the trailers that they revealed, or a teaser trailer at the time, was basically the idea that they would be remaking Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a classic that most gamers may remember that BioWare worked on, and was originally exclusive for the Xbox consoles and all, and also brought over to the PC, though. Originally, Asperity, if I'm saying that name correctly, though, were the original ones that would handle the remake of the game. They were known to do remakes or updates of other games and all. However, it was then afterwards, though, it was later revealed that that company was pulled off the project, to be exact, and several of the folks who helped with that was fired from Asperity, and then the game was later moved over to Saber Interactive, as they were going to now handle the game in general and all. And since then, it's been radio silence on it, and no one knows exactly what is going on with that game, to be exact, though. Well, recently, several comments from either the CEO of Embracer Group and a comment made by Jeff Grubb seem to indicate, assuming that this is correct, though, that the game may be in more trouble than what a lot of people think it might be, and there is a very good chance the game may not see the light of day at all. In an article from let me get that. In an article, what's this? All right, hang on one second. All right, there we go. In an article from Game Rant, it reads that, quote, "Insiders share depressing prediction for the KOTOR remake, though," and it goes down to here saying that, quote, Established industry insider Jeff Grubbs appeared to share that sentiment, having predicted that the remake of the iconic 2003 RPG is never coming out. Grubbs shared that forecast during the latest episode of his Game Mess podcast after being asked what he thinks of the KOTOR remake will come out before the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, though. While the Prince of Persia remake appears to be lost in Sands of Time, it's worth pointing out that game recently basically got is very now early in development, so obviously they have restarted it and had the original development team in Prince of Persia Sands of Time work on that. It's been reported. Grubbs noticed that he still expects that game will come out eventually, though. The article reads, as grim as these remakes are, they should not be interpreted as a death sentence for the KOTOR remake. Aside from the fact that Grubb presents his hindsight as merely as a prediction, it's worth remembering that not everyone shares this pessimistic stance on the future of this troubled project. On the contrary, some industry watchers recently posted that Dead Island 2 development hell inspired hope for the KOTOR remake, not least because it set a precedent for a contemporary development cycle that managed to result in a critically acclaimed game in spite of its many difficulties, though, including multiple developer change. Whether Saber Interactive managed to defy the odds like Dambuster Studios did with Dead Island 2 remains to be seen, but as things stand right now, the KOTOR remake is still far from going gold. According to the original August 2022 report about the project switching developers, sources closest to Embracer estimate the game will require at least 2 more years of intensive development following its transaction to Saber. Assuming Grubb's suppression prediction doesn't come true, that would at best put Knights of the Old Republic remake as a holiday 2024 release. And recently, during an Embracer Group's investment, there was a question asked about KOTOR, and this was basically mentioned from was asked to the CEO, and his response was, quote, "My favorite question," he said, "I have no further comment." So, is Jeff Grubbs correct on the possibility that this game may be canceled or anything like that, or may not come out? It isn't out of the realm of the possibility, though. There have been issues. There have been some development issues with this game and all, and I wouldn't completely rule it out entirely. That being said, though, I will admit, though, that Jeff Grubb does have a history of getting certain things wrong. He has gotten certain things right before in the past, but he's been wrong before. And also, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Saber Interactive can pull what basically Dambuster did with Dead Island 2. So, I won't rule out that this game could actually see the light of day and all. But at the same time, though, you cannot ignore the fact that it's not exactly great news for KOTOR, for those who are waiting for the KOTOR remake and everything like that. And it wouldn't shock me if it turns out in the end the game does get canceled. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it should get canceled. I hope it doesn't get canceled and everything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if what Jeff Grubb said is correct and it does unfortunately get canceled. And that would be really sad and unfortunate, though. So overall, not great news, though, to be exact, from Jeff Grubbs and everything like that, though. But again, at the same time, you can't rule out the possibility that the Knights of the Old Republic remake could technically pull a Dead Island 2 situation, though. Again, there's no guarantee that will happen, though, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities either. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with the ABK deal, ranging from supposedly an article from Game Rant in terms of about Microsoft closing the deal to a recent lawsuit that seems to have gotten somewhat dismissed over the ABK deal. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at another update to the whole ABK deal, or Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. Now, there's no denying, and I've said this before, this deal has been sort of a roller coaster of seeing where things go and where it doesn't go, to be exact, though. In late April, we learned that the CMA has blocked the Activision Blizzard deal on the concern of cloud gaming, to be exact. This led to several criticisms towards the ABK, though, which would happen in May, when it turned out to be that the European Union would later give the thumbs up and the go-ahead by for them to make the deal go through. And this kind of, as I said last week, though, I believe it was last week, this kind of brought the whole Brexit issue back into the spotlight, though. We also learned that China has recently approved the deal, though. We are still waiting to hear about New Zealand and Australia. What are they saying, though? Although as of right now, nothing has come out to indicate they're going to vote yes or no on that. We know the FTC is moving forward with the lawsuit. However, some folks like Michael Patchard believes that most likely there's going to be some sort of deal or anything like that. I believe that's what he says. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll wait and see about that. But we've also seen basically several lawsuits outside the FTC, as supposedly groups of gamers have basically sued Microsoft over this deal, to be exact, though. And apparently it seems that their second attempt to try to get this, to block this deal, though, seemed to have at least failed for now, though. In an article from Reuters, though, it reads that, quote, let me see if I missed. Okay. It reads that, quote, Microsoft Corporation evaded a potential early legal obstacle in its $69 million deal to acquire Call of Duty video game maker Activision Blizzard, when a U.S. judge on Friday refused to allow gamers in a private suit to permanently block the acquisition. The private plaintiff sued Microsoft in California federal court in December to enjoin the deal, which they call harmful to competition. U.S. District Judge in San Francisco's federal court said in a ruling issue on Friday night that the video gamers have not shown that they would be irreparably harmed, apologize for not saying that correctly, if the merger were allowed to proceed, before she ruled on the merits of their case, though. Microsoft and its lawyer contend the acquisition would benefit consumers. This person pushed back on the gamer's allegation that Microsoft will limit availability of the game. The judge said that there was no evidence Microsoft could make current versions of Call of Duty stop working after the planned mergers. This is Judge Roll. The day after the merger, they can play exactly the same way they played with their friends before the merger, as Judge wrote. The judge also said that it's not likely Microsoft will make any new version of Call of Duty exclusive to the company's platform prior to a ruling of the merits of the deal. A Microsoft spokesman on Monday did not immediately respond to a request for comment. A lawyer for the gamer said on Monday they will press on with their challenge to the deal, despite losing this prematurely rounds, though. This Joseph Alitos said, if I'm saying the name correctly, said the courts concluded that the premature injunction was not necessary at the moment, but said the evidence is very strong that the proposed acquisition violates U.S. antitrust laws. Though the court order comes just days after Microsoft won EU's antitrust approval, the deal faced regulatory scrutiny by U.S. Federal Trade Commission, and also in China and South Korea. Basically, China recently got it approved. They also mentioned how basically that the first lawsuit in March ruling the plaintiff have not offered adequate factual support for claim that the deal would violate U.S. antitrust laws, though. And over at Gamer Rant, they recently ran an article indicating that Microsoft could, if they wanted to, close the deal right now if they wanted to, but there may be some stuff that might be preventing that from happening, though. The article says that Microsoft is free to close the Activision Blizzard acquisition as of May 22nd, with some notable caveats that will likely prevent it from actually attempting to do so for a while yet. This landmark date for the company efforts to purchase the Call of Duty maker arrived shortly after Microsoft Activision Blizzard's acquisition won approval from China. Prior to Beijing's clearance, the $68.7 billion deal has already been given the nod by Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Serbia, Chile, Japan, South Africa, Ukraine, and the EU, among several other countries. And while the process consolidation is still being probed by Australia and New Zealand, its biggest remaining regulatory challenge lies elsewhere. One is originated from the home country, where the FTC sued to block Microsoft Activision acquisition in December 2022, though. Another statewide attempt to block the acquisition materialized in the form of a so-called gamers lawsuit against Microsoft. Following December filing, the complaint was dismissed by by a first instant court back in March, leaving the plaintiff with a 20-day opening to submit a revised lawsuit, which they did. As I mentioned earlier, though, the complaint also files a prematurely injunction to block the deal afterwards, which was denied on May 19th. But prior to that, Microsoft has agreed to not attempt to close the deal before May 22nd, May 22nd, in order to provide the courts with enough time to rule on the injunction motion. This was the only remaining deferment committed that the company has made. Since that deadline has passed, Microsoft is now able to initially close proceedings on the deal for the first time since announcing the acquisition on January 2022. Not least because neither the gamers lawsuit nor the pending trial with the FTC result in a successful injunction motion against the deal. But although Microsoft could complete the acquisition, Activision Blizzard acquisition without FTC approval, theoretically at least, the tech giant still unlikely to attempt to do so. The main reason lies across the pond, where the British, the CMA authorities blocked the deal in late April. According to the CMA's primary findings, buying Activision Blizzard would potentially give Microsoft's Xbox division too much power in the fledgling cloud gaming space, instead of committing resources towards indefinitely policing Microsoft's post-acquisition mood in this in this industry. The regulators decided that rejecting the deal was an easier way to protect competition in the cloud gaming sector. Microsoft is hence unlikely to attempt to close the deal while the CMA decision still stands. That's largely because the only feasible way to actually complete the transaction without the CMA approval will be for Microsoft gaming division to pull out of the UK, which, for the record, I'm not sure they will do that, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Or at the very least, stop offering cloud gaming service in the country. Again, not sure if they'll do that, but it's certainly also not out of the realm of possibility. The company so far has given no indication that it's willing to commit such a sacrifice in order to push the deal over the finish line. Since the CMA's findings are still preliminary, the window for Microsoft to appeal the decision hasn't even opened yet. So basically what they're saying is, yes, they could close this deal right now if they wanted. They could technically do that, but it's possible it could be more headaches for Microsoft right now. So it sounds like for the time being, they're trying to sort of iron everything out, trying to get through this appeal with the CMA, trying to deal with the FTC before truly closing this deal. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the possibility that Microsoft could technically pull out of the UK altogether, though, or not offer cloud service in the UK. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. As for this lawsuit, though, I wasn't too sure if this lawsuit was going to go through in the first place, though, and the fact that the judge says no to this, though, is that's two strikes, though. They could go again, though, but I'm just not sure this lawsuit's going to hold any water or anything like that. Again, I'm not a legal expert or anything like that, but given the fact that the first two didn't go through well, I'm not sure if they do another lawsuit, this one will go through either, though. So, yeah, more roller coasters with the whole ABK deal. So we'll have to see where this all goes further down the line, and we'll see if this deal actually does close this year or not, or we may have to wait until maybe next year for the possibility for this deal to close. So overall, I'm not surprised that the gamer lawsuit didn't go through, and I'm not sure if they try a third time it is. As far as basically them closing this deal now, given where they're going through at this moment, though, it doesn't sound like Microsoft wants to close this deal right away, though, but it certainly would not be out of the realm of possibility that they could do it, though. The question is it worth the risk to deal with the more headaches that they are dealing with right now, ranging from the FTC and the CMA and everything like that. So we'll see what happens, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with Embracer Group. And, well, their stock apparently took a nosedive following a deal that did not go through as they were hoping for. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at Embracer Group and a unfortunate situation they kind of got themselves into. Now, that name should be familiar with a lot of folks though, because this is a company that has been purchasing a lot of studios and a lot of IPs and trying to bring them in a way kind of back to life. They helped revive THQ, now known as THQ Nordic though. They even bought the rights to like Time Splinter and developers of who worked on that one. And I believe the one called Second Son, if I'm saying the name correctly, though, to even, bringing back, several IPs here and there, including Kingdom of Almar Re-Reckoning, which saw a port on the Xbox, Xbox One, the PS4, and even the Nintendo Switch to destroy all humans, though, to even buying Crystal Dynamics and Eidos from Square Enix, though, with the possibility of games like The Legend of K, Soul Reaver possibly getting a remaster or a remake, to even maybe another entry in the Deus Ex series, which certainly would not be a bad thing, though. But at the same time, they've also hit some bumps, though, along the way. One of those was last year's Saints Row reboot, though, that did not sit very well with not only with critics but also with gamers as well. There was also technical issues to the point that the game did not perform as well as Embracer Group had hoped for. This led to shutdown of Voltron to basically be merged with Gearbox, which is another studio that they have basically owned, though. Supposedly they're trying to fixing up and release all the DLC and everything like that, though. But yeah, very unfortunate for that. And it has also forced basically Embracer Group to reevaluate projects they give the go-ahead and everything like that. Well, recently they had their recent quarter's earning, though, and outside of the one that I recently talked about in terms of the KOTOR Remake, though, it appears as though it's sort of a mixed bag. On one hand, Dead Island 2 did great for them, but on the other hand, it seems as though they also lost a lot of money through a deal that really, just to say, tanked their stock in a way. In an article from GameSpot, it reads that, quote, Embracer Group's quarterly financial results for January to March 2023, fourth quarter, are now out, and they show growth in key areas such as net sales and operating profit margins. But it seems that the company's performance is falling short of expectations. The publisher CEO described the situation as a challenging year that was caused by many factors, including a major strategic partnership that fell through after months of negotiation. The company did not reveal the other party in this failed deal, but the company described it as a groundbreaking strategic partnership agreement that would have set a new benchmark in the gaming industry. The deal was for $2 billion in development revenue over 6 years, and Embracer said that it had a verbal commitment from the second party back in March of 2022. There aren't many entities in the gaming industry that could afford that level of investment, which has led to some speculation that it could have been Amazon or Activision Blizzard, though. The deal was apparently negotiated for several months, with several hundred people engaged in both sides. However, on the eve of the company's fourth quarter results, Embracer said that the deal was formally killed by the other party, which was unexpected to the management and the board of the directors of Embracer. This setback caused Embracer to specifically change its financial outlook, and saying that it's adjusted its EBIT, a measure of revenue, will now be 7 billion to 9 billion Swedish, the Swedish currency, which is roughly 650 million to 850 million, rather than the 10.3 to 13.6, Swedish krona in the financial year of 2023 to 2024. It also caused the company's stock price to cater with a daily loss more than 40% as of this writing. It's worth noting that Embracer took in $1 billion in funding from Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, a decision that prompted scrutiny and criticism for those in the industry due to the country's human rights records in recent year. A criticism I actually do agree with, though, to be exact. Though it's clear this deal had a negative impact on Embracer, it's not all bad news. Later comments over that Dead Island 2 sold over 1 million units in its first week and 2 million overall, which exceeded the company's expectations. That said, the company said that some of its solid pipelines of projects in development will require more time to bake, including several unannounced titles. So obviously somewhat mixed news for basically Embracer Group though. Like I said, on one hand, it's good that Dead Island 2 is doing very well, especially for a game that was in development hell for a long time though. Hopefully should a Dead Island 3 happen, hopefully lessons were learned about that, and this time things could get more back in order when it comes to the development cycle though. But on the other hand, yeah, this deal that fell through that made their stock tank, I mean, wow, that not really great for Embracer Group on that though. I am kind of curious to see what this deal was for who to be exact though. So it is a little bit unfortunate though, because it would have been nice to see what this whole deal that they were working on though. But I mean, could Embracer Group recover from this? Yes, they probably could. Are they going to have to reevaluate in terms of making acquisitions and these kinds of deals? It's possible down the road they may have to rethink this though, especially how they had to rethink following the Saints Row reboot failure and everything like that. So yeah, not exactly somewhat one good news, but not exactly great news to be exact, coming from Embracer Group's financial report. So overall, glad that Dead Island 2 is doing very well. A little unfortunate to see this deal go through that really tanked their stock, to be exact though. So yeah, we'll see what Embracer Group does going forward and everything like that. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this is my take and my thoughts on the PlayStation Showcase that happened this week. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at basically the PlayStation Showcase that basically happened. Now, a couple weeks ago, there were rumors about the possibility that a showcase was going to happen. Even Jeff Grubb chimed in on that. And then, of course, last week we got the official date and everything and so forth, though. And this week it basically happened. It was an hour long, though. And I would say the reaction so far has been kind of sort of mixed to a certain degree. There's been some that felt like this was sort of a disappointment though. I don't think this was a bad showcase to be exact though, but I will admit if I had to give it a number, I'm not really great with numbers, I would give it basically a 6 to be exact though. I won't say it was a complete disappointment, but there were certainly some decisions I do question that Sony did to some games announced, to some even one of their new hardware they're showing, that I think just raises certain questions about the direction and everything like that. So I'm going to break it down into what I liked, what I didn't like, mixed, not sure about though. As far as what I liked in terms of what they showed during the showcase though, one of the games that they showed was Phantom Blade Zero though. This looked really neat though. I'm definitely getting a little bit of a Onimusha and Neo vibe to the game, which certainly isn't a bad thing. Those games are fun. I like Koei Tecmo's take on the Souls-like type of a game, to be exact though. So this one looks really neat though. This, along with Rise of the Ronin, if I'm saying that name correctly, are definitely on my list though. So this is one I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for though. The next one they showed off was Dragon Dogma 2, the sequel to Capcom's first Dragon Dogma, and I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I am enjoying the original Dragon Dogma. I'm playing it on my Nintendo Switch. I got the Switch version, to be exact though, and judging by some of the snippets that they showed so far though, it looks pretty impressive, to be exact though. It will be very interesting to see what changes to the mechanics that they had to the game though. Do you have more control over your Arisons than you have in the past, or is that not the case? So it's certainly going to be very interesting to see what changes and what story, if it takes place in the same world. Is it the first Dragon Dogma, or if it's going to be taking place in a different world? But in either case, nice that we got to see some snippet of gameplay though. Dragon Dogma 2 is definitely one on my radar though. The next one they did was the rumors turned out to be true. true, and it turns out that Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is in development, to be exact, though, and that certainly is nice indeed, though. We also announced that a collection of Metal Gear Solid games have also been announced during this presentation, starting with Volume 1. It's coming to other platforms as well, though. No word of it coming to the Nintendo Switch or not. That remains to be seen, though. The collection I could see coming to the Switch, but we don't know if that will be the case. But the fact that they're remaking Snake Eater Metal Gear Solid 3 is definitely nice, though. Hopefully this may open the door to maybe getting Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns and Patriot getting a remake treatment, or making it go beyond, not being just confined to the PlayStation 3, to be exact, though. So I would love to see that one get the treatment. But I'm definitely like what I saw with the Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, and the Metal Gear Collection games, though. They showed off near the end Spider-Man 2 gameplay, which looked really neat. I liked Insomniac's take on Spider-Man. I'm enjoying Miles Morales. I enjoyed Spider-Man 2018, though. I'm very curious to see how all this gameplay is going to play out. To be exact, though, we did see Kraven the Hunter and the Lizard, though, but we also saw Peter Parker with the symbiotic suit on, though, and some very interesting gameplay mechanics with him using the symbiotic suit, though. It's going to be interesting at what point did he get his hand on it, though. We also saw it switch to Miles Morales, so it does seem like you'll be able to switch between Peter Parker and Miles Morales, though, but I'm curious to see, is that going to be during certain missions or certain points of the game, to be exact, though. And I'm very curious to see, is there going to be a part where Eddie Brock might come in and get his hands on the symbiotic suit and ultimately become Venom. So there's still some unanswered questions, but what they showed on the gameplay side of it, though, is definitely nice, and I am looking forward to the Spider-Man 2, though. The only problem right now is we don't have an official release date. We have fall 2023, which means that they're planning to put this out as a fall release, but we just don't know the concrete release date. I think we're still waiting to try to get that information, though. But Spider-Man 2 gameplay was definitely impressive. And last but not least, though, we had basically a good amount of indie games that were basically shown off during this presentation. One was sort of like a storybook style of approach. One was like with the sword surfing and everything like that. And I gotta give, at least Sony some credit to showing off some of these indie games during the showcase. It was definitely a nice addition to the showcase and all, though. As far as what I didn't like or mixed or not 100% sure, though, is basically their approach of using maybe way more CGI than I can imagine, though. I mean, while it's okay every now and then to do a teaser trailer, I just felt that the majority of their announcements was just showing off a CGI with little to no gameplay whatsoever. That's not to say there weren't games that had actual gameplay to show or anything like that, like Spider-Man 2, for example, though. But it just felt like they focused way too heavily on the CGI part, to be exact. Even some of their live services game was just really just showing off the CGI, and I'm not completely. I would like to see some actual gameplay, some actual how the game looks, how it plays, and everything like that. I'm a little disappointed on some of the approach Sony made with just showing only the CGI part. The other one is this new game made by those who are part of who did work on the Call of Duty series, and that is Immortals of Aveum. Aveum. Apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly, though. This is being handled by EA Origins, and while it definitely looks impressive, I'm still not sold on it 100% yet. I'm worried about this being, a bull shot or a vertical slice to the point that it's not, the actual gameplay or anything like that, though. I mean, I'm not saying the concept isn't bad. The idea of a first-person shooter, but with using like sorcery and all that stuff, looks impressive. I'm not saying it looks terrible or anything like that. It's just, I'm just a little iffy, especially since this comes from EA and given EA's reputation and history, though. Excuse me. I'm just not sold on this game yet, though. We'll see. Maybe over time it might impress me even more, but right now I'm just not entirely sold on that game though. The other one was Square Enix showing off their game Foamstar, and based on what the reaction so far, it pretty much has gotten the impression that this is their take on Splatoon and everything like that. Now, I don't have a problem if they want to compete against Splatoon in any way. If they want to do their own take on it, that's fine though. I'm just not 100% sure about this, especially when you take into account Square Enix's recent obsession with live services to NFTs and everything like that. I'm just not really sold on the idea of this game, and I'm just worried that this is a flop waiting to happen though. I mean, we've seen them pull live services games before though. I just feel this could be another one, to be exact though. So just not really sold on it though. I could be wrong, the game may actually be good, but right now I'm not 100% on board with Foamstar at this time. Another thing to point out is that most of these games, not all of them, but most of them you definitely are going to be seeing coming to other systems, whether it's the Xbox Series X and S, PC, or even to the Nintendo Switch to a certain degree. Like the Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta and the collection, that's coming to multiple systems. In fact, a good majority of their games, not all of them, but a good amount of these games, to be exact though, are multi-platform release, which is okay, but it's going to tie into my other thing, and that is the first party games, to be exact though. I mean, again, some are exclusive just to the PS5 and all that stuff, but just some of these I just feel like it's just most of them were just, you know, multi-platform release and all. The other thing they showed off was basically a handheld that is a streaming handheld called Project Q, and honestly, I'm not really sold on Project Q though. While it sounds like a neat idea to play your PS5 games on the go, the problem with this approach, or at least, is the fact that it basically relies heavily on streaming, which means you have to be in an area with a serious Wi-Fi connection. And if you're not though, you're going to have a hard time playing any of the games through this Project Q, and I'm also worried about the battery life in this one though. The tech behind it does look a little bit impressive though, but right now I'm just not 100% sold on Project Q, and I've seen mockery of it basically taking a PS5 controller, cutting it in half, and just glue it onto like a portable screen or something like this though. So right now I'm just not really 100% sold on Project Q at this moment. And last but not least though, I will say this presentation was somewhat light on first party showing for this showcase though. Not that there weren't any first party games that they showed during this showcase though, but it was pretty light to a certain degree, especially rumors about, most people were wondering what's Sucker Punch working on, what's Naughty Dog working on, what's, you know, like all these studios that Sony owns though, or Sony then, what are the developers of Dagon and Sniper Filter working on, to be exact though. So it feels like this was a very light on first party showing for this showcase and all, and I think that's a little bit unfortunate, because I would have liked to see them also show some of maybe smaller or smaller or AA titles instead to be at this showcase though. Like, I would have loved if they had showed the return of Jak and Daxter or Sly Cooper or anything like that, or hell, reviving old dormant IPs like Dark Cloud or Rogue Galaxy or anything like that. So I just don't like this approach of only focusing on AAA experience only, to be exact. Not that I'm saying AAA games are bad, it's just I don't agree with this approach, and it's just, this was very light on first party games. Maybe another showcase might be different, but for this one, it was definitely, in my view, somewhat light though. So my overall takeaway from this showcase is that it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't exactly great either though. I mean, there were some good moments into the showcase, but there wasn't really a huge amount of wow moments, to be exact though. I mean, don't get me wrong, Phantom Blade Zero looks nice, Dragon Dogma 2 looks nice, Spider-Man 2 gameplay looks really nice or anything like that, but like I said, very much, most of these were just CGI with little to no gameplay, though. Some of the games I'm not really sold on yet, though. I'm certainly not sold on Project Q, and this was very light on first-party showing. So I wouldn't consider this the worst PlayStation Showcase, but it's not their best one either. Is it possible they could do another one in the fall and maybe impress us more, though? I mean, it's a possibility. They may have a state of play or showcase that actually turns out to be good in the fall. So we'll have to wait and see. But I stand behind my position of I would give this one, if I had to give it a number, I would give it a 6. Not the worst showcase out there, but definitely not their best one either, though. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the situation surrounding the KOTOR remake, though? Do you think that game will see the light of day? Do you think it will pull a Dead Island 2 kind of situation? Or do you feel like it's only a matter of time before Embracer Group and the Saber Interactive decides to just pull a plug and say, forget it, it's not worth it, or anything like that? What are your thoughts about this ABK Deal situation? Do you this lawsuit that was recently dismissed by several gamers, though? Do you think the gamers will are going to do another lawsuit? Do you think they have a better shot at it, though? And do you think Microsoft will actually close this deal as now that May 22nd has passed, though? Or do you think they're going to wait to see if they can iron out anything with the CMA or the FTC and all? What do you think about this whole situation surrounding Embracer Group, though? Were you surprised to see their stock take a dive, though, over this deal that did not go through? Were you surprised to see Dead Island 2 actually perform very well? And what are your thoughts about the PlayStation Showcase that happened? Did you think the PlayStation Showcase was actually good? Do you think it was terrible? Do you think it lived up to the expectations? Do you think Sony could have done a better job with this showcase in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notification of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.